Hello everyone and welcome back to another in-person edition here in the studio of the Second City podcast. We're absolutely delighted to be here. I'm Daniel Sketchley.
And I'm Callum and Dan.
Welcome Cal, welcome back to the studio. We've got a very exciting episode this week. It's very different.
It's been a little bit of a little gap between our last couple of episodes, but there is a reason for that, and that is the whole theme of this entire podcast this week.
Yeah, so we will get to all the, obviously it's been a huge week for Blues and Villa and an even bigger week coming up next week. So we're recording this on the Sunday, so Blues played Barnsley yesterday. You were up for the Villa Forest game last night. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, we'll get into all that kind of in the second half of the show or towards the end of the show, because there's a lot to talk about there, don't worry. But we kind of took the Second City podcast on tour for the first time.
We did.
Sort of.
It was like Second City podcast does the Italian job.
Yes, there's the title. Yeah, and it was great. So we went to Milan last weekend. Friday to Monday. Yeah. And we first talked about this trip like a few years ago, really, like 5-ish years ago.
It's about 5 years ago.
Because you've always talked about the San Siro.
Yeah.
Because there's been like, you know more about it than me, but obviously the San Siro is probably the most famous stadium in Italy, home of...
Arguably one of the most famous stadiums in the world.
Yeah.
Certainly in Europe.
Yeah, so I would agree. Home to AC and Inter Milan.
Yeah.
But there's been some talk about them possibly knocking it down, or I think that was the plan. You know more about it than me, but it's like...
Yeah, the plan was to knock it down around the end of the 2020-2021 sort of season. And then because of COVID, our trip got derailed, and the knocking down of it got derailed. Then there's also they've got the Winter Olympics coming to Milan in 2028.
No, it's the next January, 26.
26, so they don't want to knock it down before then. And then there's also issues about, do they rebuild it in exactly the same spot, and should they knock down the San Siro at all, because it is like it's almost like a historic monument now, in the same way that the Duomo Cathedral is in Milan. You wouldn't just knock it down to make it bigger. Yeah. So there's a lot of politics there. So there could be a new stadium for both Inter and AC, but like next to it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But anyway, we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
We've wanted to do it for years, and we finally ticked it off with a little side quest down to Como for the day.
Yes, Cal played a blinder. He managed to get us last minute tickets for Como 1907, who play... Well, Como, Lake Como, the sort of south of Lake Como is only like half an hour away from Milan.
Yes.
And the town of Como, where Como 1907, who are now in Serie A, managed by Cesc Fabregas.
Yes.
That's where they play, and so we did a little day trip there. So we had a great weekend. We propped 2 real football, cultural footballing experiences. So we can't wait to talk about it, our experiences and so on there. And that's why what we're wearing this week is very Italian themed.
It is,
very Serie A themed. So should we get into that to start with?
Yes, let's do it.
Wicked. So we'll start, I guess, well, it's not much guessing going on really.
Yeah.
Certainly not for you anyway.
Yeah, mine's by far the easiest one, and if we're going chronologically, we'll do my one anyway, because we did go to Como on the Saturday before we went to the San Siro on the Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's this season's Como 1907 shirt. I know this, and it's so easy because I was there when you bought it, and I considered buying one myself. So it kind of is... I don't take this the wrong way, because it's a lovely kit. It kind of looks like a Leeds shirt.
Well, this is part of the reason why I have the away shirt, Dan, because the home shirt was a bit too Birmingham City for my liking.
It's very similar. For those watching here in the studio, behind me here is our 17-18 shirt. It was quite similar, just the stripes in a different position and so on. Yeah. But yeah, so it's this season's home shirt, kind of white Adidas badge, obviously, kind of blue stripes on the sleeves, the Adidas stripes. Uber's the sponsor. Yeah. And then on the bottom, the only thing with the kit, I don't really know what they're going for. It's kind of like a bar chart kind of thing at the bottom with like a...
So it's a bit of a theme with Como shirts, certainly with the year before shirts, is that they try and incorporate the lake into their shirts. And so if you look, I'll put a picture on the screen, or if you're watching on YouTube, of last year's home shirt, which is a stunner. It is a gorgeous shirt, but the whole design on the front of it is the blue of the lake. And so Adidas have tried to do something similar this year, which is by incorporating the lake across all the kits in this weird bar chart kind of way,
interesting idea.
Interesting idea. The main thing I would say I don't like about it is that it's not printed into the fabric. It is a transfer, like if you had a player's name on the back of the shirt. So if you wash it with fabric softener, these aren't going to come off. Yeah. And it does like sort of add this sort of weird kind of texture then on the front of the shirt, where it kind of, when the shirt just naturally kind of folds up around your waist if you're sat down, it's got like, it's a bit like if you've got like a sleeve patch on, like you feel like you can't move your arms sometimes, depending on if it's a transfer or not. But I actually think it's a gorgeous shirt, and the badge is lovely.
Very unique badge. Don't see many shirts like that.
Yeah.
Certainly not in this country anyway.
because as well, we bought this inside the ground. So there is a stadium store, but it's closed for renovation. So there's no real way of discerning whether it's like a player spec or just like a replica shirt. I did see some people with a woven in badge when we were at the stadium, so this could be player spec, but we don't really know. Yeah, sure. It was expensive enough to be either.
Yes, yeah. You had a few issues. Obviously, the woman serving you was Italian.
Yeah, she didn't speak a word of English, and that's completely on me for not speaking Italian. She did very well considering there was just like 4 English guys trying to be like, "How can we buy a shirt, please?"
Yeah, well, it's also the one shirt we could see up was a home shirt with Deli. It's a Deli Alley place for Como now.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't think Cal's going to want the Deli Alley shirt.
No.
But they had an away one for you, which was great.
Yeah, because it was like a little pop-up store inside the stadium.
Yeah. It's the same place they serve like the beer and...
Yeah, but like you'd normally expect there to be... The main thing they'd have in there is shirts, but it wasn't. They had lots of scarves and flags and hats and stuff. But there was just like 3 home shirts with player names in the background.
Yeah.
And so... it just by blind luck we managed to be like, do you have that? And she just said the white one, and I went, yes, I want the white one. It was perfect. And she just pulled this big box out which was just full of shirts in the end. So
yeah,
it was a nice addition to the collection, the ever-growing collection.
A very unique edition, I would argue.
Yes.
I don't know anyone else with a Como shirt, so that's...
No, it's going to be a great one to bring to 5-a-side in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll get more onto Como, the experience in Como later in the stadium and so on. What am I wearing, Cal? A bit more of a difficult one for you, maybe, in terms of year, exactly.
Year is very, very tricky for me. So this is a remake of an Inter Milan shirt. Pirelli, the old badge, the much better badge of Inter Milan. A giant star above it, which we talked about when I wore an AC shirt a couple of weeks ago, is to do with Scudettos.
Yeah, 10 titles.
Yeah, more than rather than European Cups like us and Forest have, for example, or Bayern even. I'm not too sure, to be honest. There is something like written into the black of the stripes. Like I think it says Internazionale. Doesn't it? It does. And you probably can't see as well is that there is a giant star printed into the fabric, which is kind of behind the sponsor.
And the badge as well down there.
And the badge down there as well. Yeah. And it does say Inter embroidered in a very interesting place where we probably won't show it for some reason. My guess is going to be it's like an 80s kit of some description, I would say. Maybe more recent than that because of the Pirelli sponsorship, so it could be 90s.
Yeah. What's your guess? I thought so it's not this year. I thought this was 2004 originally. It's because they had similar kits in the early noughties. Yeah. And I also thought the Pirelli sponsor, they were there in the noughties, must have been around then. But it wasn't.
I'll say something along the lines of 95.
Close. 97. This is the 97-98 shirt. So I didn't know that when I bought it. It's quite nice though that I got one of the year we were born. Yeah. That's quite cool. But yeah, so we bought this from not the Inter shop at the stadium. We bought it from the one... There's like another one in town, like more near the cathedral. Yeah. And they had a few options. They had the beautiful, iconic, it's like black and grey stripes away one from this season as well. They had this season's kits. This season's kit's kind of weird though. It's like...
This season, all 3 of Inter's kits this year are not great, in my opinion. The home shirt is so close to being what you would want as a tourist fan going and buying an Inter Milan shirt. But it's very similar to that Chelsea kit of a few years ago where it's got like 3 different patterns across it and... Yeah. So you have like normal stripes for 2/3 of the shirt and then some wacky thing down the left-hand side of it.
It's similar to Chelsea. I had one like it 5 years ago, which is an awful kit. This Inter one is not that bad. But it's like frustrating. It's when they just tried to make something a little bit different just to make a new shirt, just to sell more shirts. Very odd choice. But no, this is 97-98, and it's a pretty iconic era in Inter Milan's history. So I did a bit of research into this season. This was, by the way, originally an Umbro shirt. Obviously, it's a remake, so it doesn't have this exact one wasn't made by Umbro. But they were under the management of the late Luigi Simeone, who had his one and only season as Inter manager this year. They actually finished second in Serie A, 5 points behind Juventus, but they finished far above AC Milan. They finished 25 points ahead of AC Milan. So I don't quite know what happened there, because I would have argued, like when we were kids, AC were like the kind of the more prominent. Obviously, Inter won the Champions League in 2010, I think. So they weren't too shabby either under Mourinho. But this season is probably most famous because this was the first season under R9, and by that I mean, of course, Ronaldo phenomenon.
Brazil Ronaldo.
Brazil Ronaldo, as most people know him.
Yeah.
It's kind of harsh that there's Ronaldo and Brazil Ronaldo, because Brazil Ronaldo
Well, Brazilian Ronaldo is more... If you say R9, most people know exactly who you mean, as opposed to just saying Cristiano.
Exactly. So he signed from Barcelona, intimate the buyout clause in his contract, and set a world record transfer fee, which I believe was $27 million US. Not quite sure what that would translate to in euros at the time, but hey, not bad. And he broke the world transfer record, and it was the second time he'd done it.
You could get a Danny Ings for that these days.
You could get a Danny Ings. Yeah, he one of the few players to break the world transfer record twice on his own, Ronaldo, which is pretty amazing. He won Serie A Footballer of the Year. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or, FIFA World Player of the Year for this year. A completely iconic player for Inter Milan. And he did, of course, end up going on to play for AC Milan. 10 years later, he had one season there, which was interesting looking that up, because I thought he was at AC Milan for longer. And I wouldn't have known until I looked it up that he was more synonymous with Inter than with AC. A few of the players that they had, Diego Simeone played for him. Of course, manages Atletico Madrid now, which is interesting. They Javier Zanetti, who went on to play for the club for 19 years. He was in his third season there. Probably the best right back, one of the best right backs ever, probably. An unbelievable player. And one, I never know how to pronounce his name. West Brom legend, Nwankwo Kanu. Have I pronounced that right?
Nwankwo Kanu.
Nwankwo Kanu, is that how you say it?
Yeah. But the funny story from when I did my journalism uni degree is that broadcasters in the UK would only ever say his second name to avoid potential slip-ups. So he was always just Kanu.
That's very, very, that's
but you mark the podcast as explicit, so we're covered. Just in case of a slip-up.
That's all good. So they finished second in Serie A, but they did win the UEFA Cup. They beat Lazio 3-0 in the final. Kind of mad to think a team this good, they weren't in the Champions League this season. Obviously, they were in it shortly after. But they won 3-0 in the final. Ivan Zamorano, Zanetti and Ronaldo scoring all the goals. Coppa Italia was a disaster for them, though. Got to the quarterfinals and lost 5-1 on aggregate to AC Milan. So, it wasn't great for them. And also this Pirelli sponsor, so they've had this was their third season with the Pirelli sponsor, but they ended up having it from 1995 to 2020. I was going to say,
it was only recently that they ditched the Pirelli sponsorship.
Yeah, they switched to like a shocking,
it's like a
token,
an
NFT,
yeah,
non-fungible token.
Yeah,
that's whatever they are. But what was really interesting was, and I apologise, I'm going on a bit here, but obviously, we went to Inter Milan, we soaked it up, and we'll get onto all that and the atmosphere and the experience of all that. And I know Blues had a history against Inter Milan, so I did a bit of research into this. And this is really interesting. Blues have a real history with Inter Milan, and we've played them 4 times, and we've never lost to them. We've won 3 of them as well. So Blues were actually the first British team to play in a European competition. That was when they joined the Intercities Fairs Cup in 1955, which was the first ever Intercities Fairs Cup. That ran from it was weird, it ran across seasons, so it ran from 55 to 58. The first time they played them, they drew 0-0, but this wasn't at the San Siro. It was a away game, but not at the San Siro. But then they beat them in April 1957, 2-1 at St Andrews in the same competition. But then Blues were invited back to the competition a few years later, 1960-61, and they played them in the semi-final, and they beat them 2-1 home and away. So they won away at the San Siro, and a British team did not win away at the San Siro again until Arsenal in 2003. So the record stood for over 40 years, which is absolutely remarkable. Blues won at the San Siro in April 1961. A goal from Jimmy Harris and an own goal from Costanzo Belleri helped Blues on their way. And then they won 2 weeks later again, Jimmy Harris scoring twice again, which is absolutely remarkable. I think it's a really interesting little bit of history there between Blues and Inter Milan.
Villa have also played Inter Milan, but
I looked this up.
We played them twice in what was in the UEFA Cup, with the equivalent of the Europa League now. We won both the home games and lost both the away games, and went out in both games as a result. One of them was on penalties, where we lost on penalties at Villa Park, despite winning 1-0 on the night. But
you know what was really interesting when I was looking at this Intercities Fairs Cup, the very first one? So it's kind of the obviously the Champions League or the European Cup didn't exist at the time. It was kind of like a precursor to that. But what was really interesting was the Intercities Fairs Cup was a competition that was originally meant to be, say, like the city of Birmingham was invited. It wasn't Birmingham City Football Club that was invited. It was players from multiple clubs could enter, so that you could put a team together made up of Blues and Villa, maybe West Brom players as well. But Villa refused, basically. So Blues just went in on their own. I assume Inter Milan did something similar, because there was no AC players there, so they just went as Inter Milan. So I thought that was really interesting, that a really big piece of Blues' history Villa, could have ruined it by just taking part in it, basically. But that Inter Milan game, winning that, they got to the final. They did lose to Barcelona. I believe it was Barcelona. And they were the first British team to play in a European final as a result, which is a great piece of history. Didn't win it, sadly.
No.
But yeah, so there is a connection there between our great cities. Because, of course, Milan is the second city of Italy. So
It is indeed.
it is. Our sister city.
Yeah. Let's talk about Como.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we're going to talk long and hard about the San Siro as well.
Yes.
So Lake Como was, as I said, a last minute addition to our trip. What did you think of Lake Como? And I think, guess more importantly for the podcast, what did you think of the stadium?
Yeah, well,
I'll try and get the name of the stadium again. It's
I've got
Stadio
it here.
Giuseppe Sinigala.
Sinigalia, yes. But then outside, so I've got a photo of this, I can maybe throw it up. It says Stadio Cumanale.
Yeah.
And then Giuseppe Sinigalia. I'm so sorry to our Italian fans. I do apologise. Como is beautiful. We actually flew over the whole of the lake on the way in. I don't know if you saw any of it.
I had a middle seat, so I didn't.
Oh, okay, fair enough. The lake on its own could be like a small country. It's enormous. But the town, I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier, the town that's nearest to Milan is Como town itself, which is like right at the south of the lake.
And
so
Lake Como is a famous place in terms of, you will have seen it in many a movie.
Yeah,
the two standouts are Star Wars: Attack of the Clones, with that infamous "I don't like sands" scene, and the other one, I don't know if you know this one, is Casino Royale. Do you know the scene?
Ooh. I don't. I assume it'd be somewhere. There's that sequence when he's playing poker with the guy and the not the main bit at Casino Royale. You know when he gambles his car and stuff.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna guess
it's the final scene of Casino
Royale.
Royale.
Of course, of course.
Where we had Daniel Craig for the first time say the name's Bond, James Bond.
Brilliant.
So that was also on Lake Como. That was the same buildings, the same villa that they filmed the section of Star Wars in as well.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Which is a very famous place, but it's quite far away from. I think we looked. It's like an hour's walk from the town of Como, or at least from the football stadium in Como. Yeah. And we were there for not even a full day. So, and if we weren't going to the match, I think we would have gone there. Yeah. But alas, we went to the match.
We did. And yeah, Como's beautiful. You can have like a wander around the town and right on the lake, and the sun kind of came out the more the day went on. Yeah. We had an ice cream. We had a pizza. All right, pizza. Anyway. Yeah, beautiful. Nice people as well. Really lovely. Yeah. And the stadium is right on the edge of the water. So the stadium itself, it's a proper old... A bit of history as well, by the way. The stadium was actually built on the orders of Mussolini back in the day as well. And so the stadium, when you actually get in, it's about 10,000 seats.
Yeah, lots of temporary stands at the moment.
Yeah, well, because Como only came up last season, right? So Fabregas took over when they were in Serie B.
Yes.
And now they've gone up. So there's actually some...
the first time in 21 years they've been in Serie A.
Wow, blimey. And there's parts that don't have seats still and aren't being used. I assume maybe that's a regulation in Serie A that you can't
Well, it's not really
it.
Seats, is it? There's a small section which is the equivalent of old school terracing. Yeah. So part of that is the away end, and then it could be that Empoli didn't take the full allocation, which we know they didn't. Yeah. But I'd imagine there's some sort of safety regs in there as well. Yeah,
it's but where we were sat, the sun came out fully at this point. But your view is obviously the stadium, this like little stadium, but then the backdrop is all just mountains and the houses in the mountains, and then as you come out of the stadium, you just see the lake as you walk out. It's unbelievable. Like,
I imagine if you're in the main stand behind the goal with the ultras, you can just see the lake. Yeah, it must be. It's where I really wanted us to have tickets, but we were just happy to have anything. Yeah, for sure. But that would be an incredible view, I'd imagine.
Probably definitely the most unique stadium I've ever been to. Yeah. Like the most beautiful for sure in terms of like location.
Yeah,
But it's still got that kind of charming like weathered character to it. It's really old. It's really like, it's not like a slick experience, but in a good way.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's all like the queues to get to the, where you bought your shirt from and the food and the bar. It's all like one thing. People just piling in.
And it's tiny, and you're just crammed in like sardines. Yeah. And I don't know. I've been to. I think this was stadium number 44. 43 for me at the time. Certainly one of my favourites. And give me stadiums like that over
soulless bowls,
over the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or the Emirates. Just two stadiums that I've been to. They are great grounds in terms of you go in there. They are massive, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. Especially when I went to the Spurs ground, that was like an experience. Yeah. There's no character. Yeah. There's something really characterful about being in like the the seats which are just kind of bolted into the old concrete terracing. And there being an old stadium, there's no roof on this stadium, so if it rained, you would just get drenched. But because it's normally sunny, you're just there getting a tan and give it any day of the week.
Absolutely. But so Como they played Empoli.
Yes.
Como got promoted last season. Actually having a pretty good season. They're about mid-table. I think they were 12th before the game started.
Yeah, they're now 13th.
Yeah, Empoli struggling a bit more, a bit lower down.
Yeah, they're in the relegation zone.
But the game finished 1-1.
Yeah.
Como took the lead. Empoli probably had the better chances.
Yeah, they hit the post at 0-0, remember, as well, just after half-time.
Kind of rounded the keeper, didn't he? And then he tried to direct it in, it just clipped the post. The defence had given up, basically, because it was nothing they could do about it by that point. And then there's a late sending off as well for a bit of a high tackle. What did you think of the game, the actual quality of the match?
I thought it got better as it went on.
Yeah.
The first half was very lacking in quality, and I think especially with them, when you compare it to the game we did the next day, the quality between Como and Empoli as opposed to Inter was like quite substantial, really. And then I suppose if you compare it to the Premier League, these teams had finished in the bottom three of the Premier League.
Yeah, for sure. It's like an interest that the pace is just that little bit slower.
Yeah.
Than,
I noticed that even when we did Blues Wickham a few weeks ago, which was effectively dropping 2 leagues down for what I normally see these days. And you notice it just in the control on the ball, the crispness of the passing, and then how quick the game moves.
Yeah. But great experience. Interesting. This was the same for the Inter game. Away followings are not what they are here in Italy. They're quite small. They're great fans. They're great fans that go. The Empoli fans. We were sat very close to them actually.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Going.
They never shut up for the whole game. They're waving flags. The drums are going.
They were brilliant. But there was probably a couple of hundred of them, if that.
Yeah. They certainly didn't fill it. So I believe the block they had of the stadium was around 300 tickets.
Yeah, and they didn't fill that.
They didn't fit. They must have had maybe 200, probably.
And obviously we understand Italy's a much bigger country. Like, geographically it's much bigger than England, the UK. But, no, great experience. Great what we gained in leg room, because we were on like the front of our block.
Yes.
What we gained in leg room, we sacrificed in seat comfortability, I would argue. I genuinely second half had to... So I had a jumper, which... Because when we left Milan that day, Navili, where we were staying, and it was raining that morning, do you remember?
Yeah.
So we all left in like hoodies, and then we got to Como and it was roasting.
Yeah.
I had to put my jumper on my seat and sit on it second half, and half time I just had to stand up because my arse was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But great experience. They had a pre-match show and everything. They had an Italian singer.
They did,
She was wicked. And because they had it's almost shaped parts of it like a running track was maybe around it or something, which it probably was.
There probably was at some point,
And then they had like a sort of high-rise stage set further back behind one of the goals. Yeah. And for probably half an hour before kick-off, she was just belting out the tunes.
Yeah.
And speaking of tunes...
I was going to say, before the game then, so a bit like what you have in England, which, you'll have like maybe a pre-match anthem. Yeah. The entire main stand is stood up. They're all holding the blue and white scarves up in the air. There's flags. There's maybe a few pyros as well. And what has to be an absolute bop of a tune.
Yes. Have you got the name of it? I've got it.
I would have the name of it, but I'm not going to risk doing the pronunciation for it.
Okay, well, I'll risk it. Pulento e Gelana Fregia Stadium version. I don't know if there's any way we can put the link in the bottom there.
Oh, yeah, I'll put the Spotify link in there.
It's wicked. It's so good. I Shazammed it. It was wicked.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's not a song about Como Football Club. Right. It's just a song that they adopted, because I was a bit interested so I was looking at that in the week, and because it had been adopted by the fans, they re-recorded it like a year or so ago. Brilliant. With this new artist for the stadium version, which we heard. And
it was great. So did they play it before? They definitely played it at the end. Did they play it before?
They played it before and the end. Yeah.
But no, really interesting experience. Fully recommend it for any football I don't know if purist is the right word, but just trying to that cultural experience was unbelievable. And then at full time we went, because the stands obviously are quite low. Yeah. We went up to the back and you could see for the view and all the lake, and got a few photos with the stadium behind us. Absolutely unbelievable.
Last people out the stadium.
We were
getting kicked out by the stewards.
We were pretty much. Yeah. Only shame was they didn't give us physical tickets. Same for Inter Milan. Bit of frustrate. We tried to get physical tickets at Inter Milan. Yeah. They printed them off on a piece of paper for us, but not a proper souvenir.
Yeah.
But yeah, so finished 1-1. Good game. I think both games, I don't know about you, I was almost I wasn't really like tactically watching the game. I was, but like kind of just soaking it all in as an experience as a whole.
It's so weird as well watching a game as a neutral in a stadium because you don't have that. Like, you're not having a heart attack. There's no tension. There's no pressure. That you maybe can feel the tension from the home crowd.
Like the shared experience.
But like obviously, if Como had won, lost, drawn, same for Inter. Wasn't going to change.
Life goes on.
It kind of makes no difference to us.
I think it was kind of in our interest for the home team to do well because the atmosphere would pick up.
I'm glad that both home teams scored.
Yeah, that was nice, and they scored first in both games as well. So that was kind of we got to see like a good atmosphere. So yeah, a great experience. Como, I'd say it's for Milan as a whole, great city. Fully recommended. Como was absolutely beautiful, so fully recommend that. And we did like a good walk around the stadium and everything before and afterwards as well. Which was really cool. It's like this. What I've never been to like Sicily, but it's what I'd imagine that would kind of feel like. But then that sort of football experience there was really cool. So yeah, terrific.
And the Sunday we did the San Siro, the big one,
the main event.
The main event. The main reason we were there, of course, is Inter were playing Udinese, and we were there to watch Keenan Davis play for Udinese. And unfortunately, and I'm furious, and it completely ruined my holiday, Dan, is that he did not get off the bench.
He didn't. That's maybe because, and we went to the pub last night, and you actually said this to our mate.
Yeah.
You said, "Oh, they should have brought him on. They were losing." Like Keenan Davis scored twice all season. I don't think he was the man to.
But he scored the goal for Udinese that kept them up last year in the relegation playoff. He scored the goal that means they're still a Serie A side.
Club legend then, I suppose.
Yeah.
So we there was the Sunday night game, Inter Milan v Udinese.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. San Siro is absolutely unbelievable. Very. I mentioned like Como, how rustic and weathered the stadium feels. Yeah. San Siro is the exact same. It feels, in that sense, very bad and bruised, but in like a charming way.
Yeah, not helped by some of the antics that maybe go on inside the stadium.
Yeah, which we'll get to. But it wasn't just like I think a great footballing experience is not just being in the stadium; it's the whole build-up, like getting the trains there. Yeah. So we were in.
So we were in Milan. We had a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Got on the metro. I watched the FA Cup
quarter
final on my phone on the metro to.
There's a great photo
to the game.
Of us.
That'll definitely be on screen right now.
That's great. Photo.
Just as it's not long after we'd gone 3-0 up, so we're all crushed in like sardines on the metro. But I agree. Yeah.
But it's a great moment as you get off, and then the train gets off, and you get off the train. And like you can see like that moment when you see the stadium for the first time.
Yeah.
Spectacular. And it's like the stadium's about 100 years old. I think it's 100 years old this year or next year maybe. And it's kind of like at Man City, and I think the Bernabeu where it's like the spirals going up
to the upper tier.
Yeah, which is where we were.
Which was cool as well. It's one of those things to tick off as well as we did the San Siro and we got to walk up the spirals. All the way to our seats.
But it's cool as well because all the obviously because Inter and AC play there. I'd imagine that this is maybe as a factor because it makes it easier. All of the you go outside the stadiums where all like the vans are, your food, your merch, and I'd imagine because they can just say all your Inter merch was there for our game, but AC Milan there this weekend, they can just swap all that out probably a lot easier.
Yeah.
So it probably does make a lot. I assume that's why they do it. It makes a lot more sense.
And obviously as well, there's no permanent store for either side at the ground. Probably because if AC were playing, they go and smash the Inter one up, and if Inter were playing, they go smash the AC one up. So you've got these temporary buildings. But I think that what I would say is what it does lead to is an insane amount of fake merchandise. I would say if you're buying your merchandise for your Inter, your AC, and you want the real stuff, maybe buy it before you go to the ground because it'd be very easy to get caught out.
Yeah, there's loads of club shops in the city. We got ours from one right by the cathedral. If you're in Milan, you're doing any of the touristy stuff.
Yeah.
The cathedral, the Galleria, where the main shopping arcade. We passed that into and an AC shop right there, so I'd fully recommend doing that instead. Going to one of them instead. They'll help you out. Or just a side note here, we went to another football shirt shop on Friday, I think it was.
Yes, this was on my list of things for us to do.
It was also right by the cathedral, and they had literally an intersection, an AC section.
There's a bar section which wasn't open when we were there, and also a small bit of museum, so lots of memorabilia. So there was like Ronaldinho's boots.
Shevchenko.
There was an Italy World Cup winning jersey from 2006.
It was awesome. A woman asked me where we were from, and I had my blue shirt on. Actually, I had, for those watching, I don't know if you can see that, but it's my 2004 Blues Flyby shirt. Got a photo of that with the Bellingham Real Madrid shirt as well, which is on the wall. But probably my highlight was so they had an intersection, an AC section. They had a Monza section or a Como section.
No Como, but there was Monza. But then there was like random Italian shirts, and then there was another local side that I cannot for the life of me remember the name of them. But they had a small section for them, loads of AC stuff. They had lovely long sleeve AC Milan kits, which if we were seeing AC,
I felt like I had to get into one because that's who we were seeing. But
But there was a small English section with a couple of Man City, a couple of Chelsea, 2 Nottingham Forest shirts, and
a Blackburn Rovers shirt.
This season's Blackburn Rovers.
This season's?
Yeah, this season's Blackburn Rovers.
And it wasn't one someone had left there. It was definitely I had like
tags,
tagged everything.
Yeah,
bizarre. I'd understand if they had like I would kind of understand if they had the Blackburn Premier League winning shirt.
Yes, as a remake.
Yeah, but I don't know what was doing there. Bizarre. Anyway, San Siro though. What did you make of it actually inside the ground?
I loved it, but it needs a bit of TLC.
Does it? Do you think it does?
I think so. I imagine because they share it with AC, it looked like the section we were in, which was the north side behind the goal in the upper tier. I imagine that's sometimes an away end.
Yeah, so isn't it? So my understanding was opposite us were the Udinese fans.
Yes.
And I think when AC play, it's
that's
flipped.
their yes.
Yeah.
So we're in effectively what is a bit of an away end when AC play. And you can I feel like you can kind of tell just because it's not the upkeep of at least the section we were in was not great. I feel like if you were to just give it a jet wash and maybe polish the seats up, all of us and there's a big screen as well because it's what I assume is the away end. Give that a bit of love as well.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, on a sunny day, it's gonna be great. Yeah. The toilets were certainly an interesting experience.
The toilet, I like it. The toilets are kind of just a hole in the ground.
It's just it's just a pipe into the abyss. You wouldn't. Let's put it this way: if you dropped your phone, you were never seeing it again.
No, I don't want to know where that lands. The stadium is amazing. Where we were, so we had seats.
We did have seats,
but where we go up to sit, so like the upper tiers have like a glass paneling all around in front. I assume to just stop people, a safety thing maybe. Yeah. But they're held up by structure. So when we sat down, we actually had like a slight obstructed view.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's go just try and stand up. We had like an hour before kickoff, so we were like, let's just go and try and stand up there or something. And if anyone tells us to sit down, we will. Obviously, no one came and told us to sit down.
Yeah. In fact, we weren't the only ones either.
No, it was where we were stood, but you were like, you couldn't like really move. It was so we had a pretty perfect view looking down on the San Siro. The ultras section was all in front of us. So
pyros and fireworks and flags.
Oh, it was unbelievable, great view. And then to our left, you could see a view of like the city. It's all like open.
Yeah.
So that was unbelievable. And it was actually kind of flat for like 10 minutes maybe. And then your man with the ultras gets the megaphone out. And
he must have missed kickoff because the game kicked off and it was pretty flat, pretty quiet. The next thing. It was bouncing for 80 minutes.
It didn't look back after that as well. Yeah. It was, I'd argue the last 5 minutes of the game were one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen. It was mental, like the noise. I think because it was second half was quite flat on the pitch until the very end when it really picked up. But yeah, a few things which really stood out at the ground. Obviously, we're in our 20s.
Yeah.
The smoking ban in England has been in effect for basically our whole lives.
Yes.
The concept of like smoking in pubs or like smoking inside a football stadium is it's very alien.
Yeah, I mean, you see someone sneak a vape in the winter time, and if the stewards catch you, you're ejected out the ground in England.
So say Italy is not the same. Like my eyes hurt afterwards. Like I think kind of a mix of taking it all in and just like. I've never taken in so much secondhand smoke in my life. It was mental.
And you weren't stood next to the guy that chain smoked for 90 minutes.
I felt bad for you and our mate Will in particular, who were like, so there was us four. I was on one end, you were on the other. Yeah. And the guys next to you were they were crazy.
They were doing all sorts of things.
I think they did something worse before kick-off for sure.
Yeah.
The one was absolutely chain smoking the entire game. And he was offering Will what looked like a spliff, and we were like, please leave us alone. I'm not touching anything that you've had. It was like they were crazy, them guys, and there was we had this tarpaulin in front of us, and they kept
they'd finish the cigarette and just flick it onto the seat cover, and it'd just roll all the way down onto the concourse.
Because also people walk through offering to serve you beer.
Yeah.
Like So you can just take one there, and they'd like finish one and then just toss the cup down the thing.
Yeah.
It's like blimey. But then we're there, like and obviously in front of us they were setting off the pyros and the smoke bombs and so on every now and again. And so all this, the smoke's in the air, and then you just look down. So we had a flight of steps just to our right in front of us. And you look down, and the steward's just having a cheeky, like genuinely having a smoke. It was very funny, just casually having a smoke. Very funny. So yeah, that was something which I wasn't quite prepared for. This Inter shirt, because we've only been back a few days.
Yeah.
I haven't actually had a chance to wash this yet. I do apologise. It stinks of smoke. I did say I was going to wash it as soon as I get in. It's going to have to go in the wash after this, I think. But the game. 2-1 Inter, it finished. What did you make of this game?
This game was, again, quality-wise was a bit better. Atmosphere, again, a bit better. The San Siro was not full.
No.
But obviously, more people, more noise. And we were right by the Ultras which does make a big difference. It's the same if you're in England. The away fans will always seem quite quiet if you're at the other end of the ground, compared to if you're right next to them. Yeah. Inter pretty much made a lot of changes before the game. They obviously had a cup match, I think, with AC coming up about 3 or 4 days later.
Yeah, they did on Wednesday.
So they made quite a few changes. They went 2-0 up, in complete control. Made some more changes in the second half. The centre back from Udinese spanked one in out of nowhere, completely out of nothing.
Just dribbled up and just whacked it in, didn't they? Brilliant.
Yeah. And all of a sudden the game came alive. Jan Sommer made a brilliant save about 2 minutes later to keep it at 2-1. And then Inter just had to soak up a little bit of pressure to the end of the game. Had a couple of chances themselves to make it 3. Simone Inzaghi was sent off.
He was
in stoppage time.
I looked at what that was about as well. He went mental. He's like on the pitch. He's very...
Yeah, it looked like he was having to go at his own player though.
Well, apparently what happened was, and this is just from an interview I read, so he'd already been booked, but then he got a straight red anyway, going into stoppage time. So he completely lost his cool over a foul that wasn't given, and then it led to that corner for Udinese, which Jan Sommer made an unbelievable save. He was unbelievable, Jan Sommer.
Yeah.
And I think Inzaghi was going mental at the ref because he was annoyed that the foul wasn't given and they very nearly scored from the corner, and he's just absolutely lost it. Very Capello-esque. You can see
but very Mourinho.
Very Mourinho. Yeah, that's a more appropriate one. But yeah, good game. First half was really good. Marko Arnautovic, obviously formerly of West Ham and Stoke. He's living it up now, isn't he? Scored, and as did David Fratesi. 2 quite similar goals.
Yeah.
Inter, don't know where they are now, but they were top with that win anyway. AC Milan are kind of more mid-table.
AC are 9th and Inter are top by 4 points from Napoli.
But no, terrific experience, and kind of similar then to Como. We sort of stayed at the end and got all the photos. Another thing, we forgot to say, it's very steep at the San Siro, which adds to obviously it all and the atmosphere and so on. Yeah. But yeah, you wouldn't be running down them steps, I don't think. I was fully like holding on to the banister, walking up and down.
Yeah, it's the first time I've actually been in a stadium. We were pretty much one of the only sections as well where we had clappers on the seats.
Oh yeah, I kept one actually. Yeah.
Not that they were used at all. No, if anything, people just made paper planes and were throwing them towards the ultras. Yeah. Not that they needed them anyway.
No, it was a great atmosphere. I'd imagine as well. It seemed, I could be wrong, but behind us seemed more like the sort of touristy spot. Yeah. But with the sort of ultras carrying the atmosphere, it was unbelievable. Mentioned the away followings at Como as well. Kind of similar, really. Not a huge away following. I understand though it's a Sunday night, and again more travelling. But their away view is it's kind of like St James's Park.
Yeah,
away,
completely up top.
Yeah.
Nowhere near the pitch.
Yeah, but pretty spectacular view of it all. So yeah, two of the best games I've been to. Yeah, easily, unbelievable.
Easily, I'm so glad we got to tick them off the list.
Yeah,
and it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. So we had a wicked time there, and I think that's really it for the San Siro. Really,
it is. Yeah,
great experience. So yeah, fully recommend City Milan. Absolutely, I would also recommend if you're ever in Milan, the restaurant Esteria del Canaletto in Navili. They did us a lovely. I had a great ravioli. You had a pizza. Did you? No, you didn't.
No, I had fritto misto, fried fish.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
The tiramisu was to die for.
Yes, wonderful. Great city, great experience. And hopefully, hope you do something similar soon with maybe another city in Europe somewhere.
What stadium are we going to tick off next time?
I don't know. Maybe Allianz Arena would be pretty cool.
Could be a good one.
Yes. Let us know, where should we go? Where we're
going maybe the next time we do it, we'll do a proper vlog.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Get the GoPros out.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see.
Absolutely. But yes, brilliant experience.
The weekend obviously helped by the football as well. Blues played on the Saturday.
Yep.
Against Gareth Ainsworth-less Shrewsbury.
That's correct, yes.
And Villa played Preston in the FA Cup quarter-finals, which 2 games. Did you catch? You didn't catch any of yours.
No, we were at Como. So it just obviously we were an hour ahead. So when we were sat in a bar by the lake and just saw Alfie May banged in a couple more. So yeah, I didn't actually see really any of the game. We won 4-1 though. Cruise control by all accounts. Michael Appleton's first game didn't go to plan. Yeah, brilliant. Not much to say about it. We will talk a lot more though about the game yesterday instead. Obviously, we mentioned where you watched the Villa game.
Well, I mean, I caught maybe 35 minutes of the second half in the end, so completely missed the first half. Was stressing in the Inter Milan store during the first half while you were buying your Inter shirt and just waiting for updates, waiting for us to hopefully score and not concede. Caught the second half on the tube. Basically, turned the game on. We scored 3 goals. We arrived at the San Siro, knocked it off.
We said this.
Happy days.
So it was alarmingly lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, it was perfectly timed.
It really was. So yeah, very very fortunate. Shall we mention as well? So another thing with Milan we forgot to mention.
Yes.
I guess we're just going chronologically here, and we'll get onto the midweek games next.
Yeah.
We're flying back.
Oh God, yes. Yes.
So we flew back from Bergamo, which is like kind of more Atalanta sort of way.
Yeah.
They're like the local team around there. About half an hour from Milan, 40 minutes, and get on our plane, and I'm sat down, and we'd heard a rumour from our mate Will, who was on a different flight going back to Stansted.
Yes.
That one Sean Dyche was on our plane, and I can't stress enough. This is exactly how it happened. I had my phone, and I read the message. Sean Dyche, obviously former Everton and Burnley manager, is on your plane, apparently from Will, and I literally looked up, and he was getting in the aisle next to it. So there was like one person between us, and then Sean Dyche. And he was with Phil.
But it was not just him, because former Man United and England defender Phil Jones was also on the flight. Yeah. And this was quite funny because I wasn't sat next to you on the flight. I was at the front of the plane, and so I'd heard the rumour that Dyche was on the flight, and then you had confirmed as well that he's right next to us.
Yeah.
So I got off the flight before you and was waiting for you just on the tarmac outside, and I was like, maybe I'll see Sean Dyche. And, saw him come off, and somebody went up and had a selfie with him, and it wasn't something I really thought about because, one, he's on his holidays, and two, he's got no real connection to Villa, or it's not like he's an England manager or anything. So let him be, and so off he went by. I was like, that's cool. Saw Sean Dyche. The next thing I was like, that looks like Phil Jones. And it was Phil Jones. I had no idea he was on the flight. He had a Como bag with him as well. So I think they were both at the game. My guess would be they were there with Dele Alli, because Dele Alli was obviously played under Dyche at Everton, especially with all his recent dribbles. Right. And then he obviously played at the 2018 World Cup with Phil Jones for England. So I imagine they were guests of Dele Alli.
Of course, he was suspended. He didn't play in the game, so that makes sense. That's very good, Sherlock. That's good, Columbo. Well done. No, I hadn't thought about that at all. Yeah, kind of similar. I didn't really want to it's great when you meet people like that and you get to say hello. But Sean Dyche also looked knackered. Yes. So they'd obviously had a good trip, and I didn't really want to. I kind of feel like in that situation, I mean, I once met Duke, who we're going to talk about later. I met him in the boring once, and I was straight up to him. But I think unless you know exactly what you're going to say to him, cause my dad actually, my parents, they recently went to Stratford and they were sat next to Mark Rylance, the Oscar-winning actor, Bridge of Spies and stuff, and they love that guy. Yeah. But they were what do you say, really? Yeah. He's just there to enjoy his night. Pretty cool nonetheless. But
it's one of those. If it had been, I don't know, Dean Smith,
Liam Ridgewell,
or Christian Benteke, or so someone which has that sort of connection, then it's a bit different, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Shall we move on then, because we've got quite a lot still to get through.
Yes.
Let's talk about midweek. So who did you play midweek?
We played Brighton
on Wednesday.
On Wednesday night.
Yeah.
So Marcus Rashford had already scored his first Villa goals against Preston. He got his first Premier League goal in a. I would say a comfortable 3-0 win, but it wasn't actually that comfortable.
Flattering.
I don't know. It was a tough away game for 60 minutes, and once we got the second goal, it killed the game, and it was complete cruise control. Brighton had a goal. I think I spoke about the Crystal Palace game where we got battered, and how I said all the marginal VAR calls just didn't go with us that night, and we lost 4-1. This was a night where where we had a bit more luck on our side. I don't think it's a penalty, but like another day, Matty Cash is giving a penalty away in the first half. The handball for the disallowed goal also doesn't go our way. And then all of a sudden, we could end up drawing or losing the game. So it was one of the, the second and third, was it the second and third goal? Certainly the second goal was under VAR scrutiny as well. Another one which on another day could have, VAR's a bit of a lottery at the moment. So it could have gone against us and it could have been a much closer and tighter game. Yeah. But Rashford scored, Asensio scored, Daniel Marlon scored as well, which was amazing. Speaking of which, because he also scored yesterday against Forest, let's bring Chant Corner back for a minute.
Oh, yes, we talked about this last night.
Yeah, so I thought this feature was going to be dead and buried after you brought it in for its first appearance a few weeks ago. But we're bringing it back strong for the Daniel Marlon chant, which might be the worst chant I've ever heard in my life at Villa Park. Not because it's rude, not because it's distasteful, just because it's terrible as a chant.
It's not the most imaginative.
And I wasn't in the away end at Brighton, but I know exactly what's happened. Daniel Marlon hasn't played a lot for Villa. He's come off the bench. He's scored in the last minute. Everyone's cheering on. Shit, we don't have a song for Daniel Marlon. What do? We've got to celebrate for him. And so the chant, which was the same as when he scored yesterday, is Marlon, 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 Marlon.
Banger.
Not one of our better chants.
No. I compared it to our Kieran Dowell chant, which is like Dowell, 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 Kieran Dowell, 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 Dowell. Anyway, it's quite catchy, that one though, weirdly.
There's so many good options you could do for Daniel Marlon. You could do Daniel Marlon, baby. You could do something along that sort of lines.
Yeah, it's kind of got the right number of syllables in it.
Yeah, I think Arsenal have got Trossard again, LA. Yeah. You could have Marlon again, LA. So there's some options there for the guys that get the chance going at Villa Park.
Yeah.
Big respect to anyone who can get the chance going at any football team. Yeah. Because I love to join in, but I don't think I could start one off.
No, me neither. You've got to be at a certain state, I think, to get going. Or very passionate indeed. Good win though, nonetheless. 3-0 away at Brighton.
It was a great week. 3 wins in a week. We've won 7 games on the bounce in all competitions, which goes back to effectively the end of February. Yeah. And we're on a bit of a roll. And I was trying to find the clip yesterday to maybe put on our socials. As in our pre-season video for the season, I said we would be slow starting, but in the run-in, we would probably hit form and we'd go on a good run, because last year was the opposite. We came out of the box flying and really tailed off at the end of the season and stumbled over the line. And all season I felt is that, and for how many times this podcast where I was saying to you, I'm waiting for us to get going, and it didn't feel like it was going to quite come. It's definitely arrived now when 7 wins on the bounce.
Yeah.
Semi-final of the FA Cup. We're up to 6th as of recording in the Premier League, although Newcastle are playing Monday Night Football and Man City are playing in the Manchester Derby today, so I think they can go above us or pull away from us, depending on how those results go. Quarter-final of the Champions League against PSG, which is coming up this week. Very exciting. But in terms of the Premier League, we've got 7 games left. We've still got to play a lot of the teams around us. We've still got to play City. We've still got to play Bournemouth, Newcastle, Fulham. We've obviously just played Forest and Brighton, who are in and around us as well. So we've still got to play a lot of the, if we're going to finish in the European spots, it's all within our own hands, because we've still got to play loads of teams that we're fighting for those positions with.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. How was the atmosphere at Forest yesterday? How was all that? Do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, we might as well tick it all off in one go. Yeah. So I thought the atmosphere was great. I've done a lot of games this season, but I haven't done that many Premier League games. So I've done all 3 FA Cup games. I've done all bar 1 Champions League games, and then I've done maybe 4, maybe 5 Premier League games. First half was great. 2 goals to go 2-0 up with 2 goals in the space of 3 minutes is always going to be carnage, and it's going to be amazing scenes in the stands. And in the first half, we bossed the first half. Second half, Forest made a couple of changes, and it was the proverbial game of 2 halves. They were much better in the second half. Another day, they maybe would have come from 2-0 down and won the game, really. We did have our chances. Rashford had a couple of good chances. Jacob Ramsey had a good chance. Matt Sells had a great game, especially in the second half, because there was points at 2-1 where if we'd have got the third goal, it really would have killed the game dead. And he kept them in it with 2 or 3 really big stops, which is why he's probably in contention for keeper of the season come the end of it. But a huge win. Granted, Forest were missing some players. We had virtually a fully fit squad for the first time in a long time. But we did make 8 changes as well. Yeah. And definitely more than one eye on Wednesday night away at PSG. I think you could probably tell roughly what the starting 11 is going to be based on who played yesterday. But a massive win at the start of a huge month.
Yes, big time to hit form for sure. Yeah. Cool. Should we move on to Blues? The last couple of games?
Yes, so we came back from Milan.
Yes.
You did an away day immediately.
The next day. Literally as we landed, my cousin James texted me and said, got a ticket for Bristol Rovers if you want to come.
Yeah.
So yeah, went to that the very next day, which was cool. Another ground to tick off.
How did that compare to the San Siro?
It was a bit of a disappointment. No, it's. I suppose they're a weird one, aren't they? Because they were National League not that long ago, really. But kind of quirky little ground. It's mostly probably like half of it standing. Just under anyway. But we weren't great at all. Bristol Rovers looked like they were fighting for their lives, which they kind of are. They're just above the relegation zone. But we won 2-1, got the win somehow. Late winner. We went 1-0 up really early on. Keshi Anderson scored a lovely curling goal after 3 minutes, and he was by far our best player. He was excellent, and was probably the only player who really did himself justice, really. I thought Rovers were really good. Gatlin O'Donka, who was playing up front for them, was excellent. Scored a header not long after our opener. Connor Taylor is their centre-back as well. He got the assist for that, and he played really well. He's a big, tall centre-back. And he had a great game, apart from when he handballed in the box with 5 minutes to go, which was a bit unlucky. It is a handball. It is a penalty. All sorts of shenanigans going on with the penalty then, because we did this thing where the person who's taking
doesn't hold the ball,
but they knew Stansfield was really going to take it. So May's holding it. They knew Stansfield was going to take it, so they were kind of hounding Stansfield for a bit. And so there's a good couple of minutes between the penalty being given and it being taken. But Stansfield does what he does, put it away, scored a lot of penalties this year, and we got the win, and that was all that mattered. It was a sign of a good team, grinding it out even when you don't play very well. Probably didn't really deserve it. I thought we got a bit lucky. But yeah, no, nice trip. Not actually that far away, Bristol all really. It's only about an hour and a half in the car. It's a good one to tick off. Hansen was injured again. Emil Hansen is injured again. He's going to be out for the EFL Trophy final. Frustrating. He didn't play at all, but frustrating because he finally got back from injury and looked like he was getting back to a bit of form. Got an assist against Shrewsbury for one of May's goals. But yeah, I can't see him being with us next year. I don't think he's got the fitness or the consistency or the reliability, even when he can be quality on his day. But a good win to kind of put us right on the brink of promotion. And then yesterday we played Barnsley.
It was very uncharacteristic of what I imagine the Chris Davis Birmingham era is like.
Yeah, so I did look back through it this morning. I had never been to a Blues game where we'd scored 5 goals before. So we got 6 yesterday, so that was lovely.
So you still haven't been to a game where you've scored 5 goals?
No, I haven't. We won 6-2 against Barnsley, which was remarkable. Brilliant game. Sun was out, like today. It's absolutely beautiful. Barnsley went down to 10 men after 3 minutes. So that, set the cat amongst the pigeons pretty early on. But they actually played really well first half. We then got a penalty. We've had a lot of penalties this year, and a lot of games where the opposition have had a player sent off. We have had... Yesterday, watching them back, I think they were both the correct call, but we have had,
You've had your fair share of luck.
Yeah, I think we have. Yeah, we really have. Can't complain too much.
Especially because there's no VAR. So
yeah, exactly. And I think both calls were correct yesterday. The red card, Keshi's technically...
No, my point's more like, because it's in the EFL and there's no VAR, the chances of getting it wrong is much, much higher.
True.
Not that they get it right all the time in the Premier League with the VAR, but that's...
Very true.
Yeah.
No, and I thought we were... really, though, we scored the penalty. Stansfield scores another penalty. But first half from then on, I thought Barnsley were excellent. For 10 men, they looked pretty tidy on the ball. And this is typical. So Mark Roberts came back for Barnsley, played for Blues from 2017 to last season.
And the interim manager is, of course...
Conor Howrahan.
Conor Howrahan.
Yeah, obviously former Ireland international.
And Aston Villa.
Yeah. So he's in interim charge. Barnsley are on a terrible run as well. So that's why I thought they're down to 10 men. We'll see this out, But Mark Roberts played for Blues for years as centre-back. And he was infamous for his long throw. I think Blues scored one long throw in like 7 years, from one long throw in 7 years. And that was kind of one where it's flicked on and then Duke scored from it. Away at Derby, I remember. I can't remember if there's any others. But this was typical then. First half, 1-0 up. Mark Roberts, long throw, gets flicked on, 1-1. Literally, I was like, seriously, half an hour and he's done it. It was just so typical. And then, yeah, we looked kind of sloppy on the ball, not amazing, but, you know, it is what it is. I thought Barnsley looked good for for the first half for 10 men. So we went in at 1-1 at half time, and then the second half just went mental. Like,
yeah, I looked at the score at half time and was like, 1-1, come on the Tykes?
Yeah, the Tykes. Yeah. Bizarre. And then Blues come out second half, managed to go 2-1 up. Not really sure who scored. I think it's Alfie May. Looks like he got the last touch, but some are crediting it to Ben Davis, some are crediting it to Alfie May. Not sure at the time of recording. Hopefully the dubious goals panel will clear that up. But then May definitely gets the third from a Cochrane cross. Lovely header. Glad to see May getting back on the score sheet. And then Barnsley pull up. We went months where we just didn't concede goals, and now we are conceding the odd sloppy goal. Also kind of should maybe do better with a shot going across his goal, gets a hand to it, but it goes in. And then it just went crazy. Like Luke Harris came on and scored a lovely finish, and then Kieran Dowell scored a brilliant goal. Kieran Dowell I didn't think played that well actually yesterday, but he's capable of producing a great goal. Really, sent his man the other way and whacked it bottom right corner. And then genuinely, other than Newcastle, the two Newcastle goals, the best limbs this season, genuinely for me. Duke comes on with 10 minutes to go. Duke has played for Blues for 9 years now. He's in his 9th season with us. Yeah. Duke comes on with 10 minutes to go. He hasn't really played much this season because he's 36, 37. He's a club legend, one of my favourite Blues players ever, if not my favourite. And the Blues fans are all singing, "If Dukey scores, we're on the pitch." They sing that a lot.
Where was this in Chant Corner?
I know, yeah. So Duke comes on, and he gets his goal, and it was brilliant. He hasn't scored in the league for probably nearly a year, if not over a year. I think he scored away at Hull last year. Scored in the Cup in December. But he gets threaded in by Dowell. They had loads of space. Barnsley, I think, for 10 men, they managed to just see it out for a long time and stay tight, and I think the last half hour it just went. Duke had so much space. He gets threaded in, and he shoots with his left foot, and the keeper gets down low and saves it well. And I think this is why the moment was so sweet, because it looked like he'd blown it, but the ball just bounced back to him with his right foot. He just dinks it in over him, and the videos are amazing, and it's exactly how it felt in the stadium. Everyone went, "Oh," and then seconds later it just went mental, and it's genuinely the maddest I've celebrated a goal in years. Duke tears off, slapping the badge. Ryan Alsop runs down the pitch to celebrate with him. A brilliant moment. Everyone was a club legend, and
I guess it's almost a shame that wasn't the goal that got you that sealed promotion.
No, but it probably will be the last goal at home before we get promoted, which is kind of nice, I suppose. But I know exactly what you mean. And get this, Duke has now scored for us in 10 consecutive calendar years. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. He has scored at least one goal in every year. Some of those years he did only score one goal, but he's still done it.
It's a bit like Gabby for us scored I think he scored in every single season he was a Villa player for us.
Yeah.
Which, again, some seasons were only one goal in the end.
Yeah. But a brilliant moment, and then he was, deservedly lapping it up at the end. He's been a great player, and whatever happens after this, I'm so glad he got that moment. And he absolutely deserves that. With the captain's armband on him, brilliant.
Are you going to get yourself, before he leaves, probably in the summer, are you going to buy a cheeky home shirt this year in the sale with Djukovic's 10 on the back?
I'd say if he scores in the trophy final, absolutely. I'll get the proper embroidered one and everything, absolutely. 10 home wins in a row for the first time in our history. And the Bristol Rovers win was our 37th win this season in all competitions, which is a club record that will probably never be broken, considering we've still got, I think, 7 games left. Absolutely remarkable. Some weird stuff going on with Corey O'Keefe at the game. Obviously, he was getting a lot of stick for being
former Blues Academy.
Yeah,
player?
I don't know if I've missed something. Can 30,000 people all be wrong? I don't know, but
probably
they're all acting as if he was ex-Villa. To my knowledge, he's ex-Blues Academy. I don't know if he's got some sort of history with Villa fan. Maybe said something. I know when they scored, he did come up to the Blues fans and give it a bit of bit back, but I don't know. So maybe someone can enlighten me there. I don't really know what's going on there. obviously Conor Hourihane as manager, Hourihane as interim manager. Not a great return for him at St Andrews.
No.
But
compared to his, I can't remember the last time he would have been there as a player.
Probably would have been. Was he
Would have been
Barnsley afterwards?
No, well, he had a spell. He was at Swansea. Not long after we went up on loan, he probably played. He certainly probably would have played at Sheffield United the year after. Certainly not as great as his last time as a Villa player there. No, anyway,
that's for sure.
And he almost scored that day as well. Hit the bar.
He did. Yeah. Let's not talk about that. Yeah. So yeah, this means then. So Blues are playing Tuesday night, away at Peterborough. Next week is massive. We've got Peterborough twice, and it could be a hugely defining week in our history. Really, we could either. So if we match Wycombe's result, who are also playing Tuesday night, as long as we match their result, so a win would definitely do it, we are promoted back to the Championship. 106 points for the points record is still very feasible. For the EFL points record is very feasible. We could do it. So yeah, a huge week coming up. And then of course we've got them in the EFL Trophy final on Sunday at Wembley, a week today as we're recording. So I'm super excited. 2 huge games. I'll treat this, obviously we probably won't get another pod in beforehand.
No.
So we'll treat this kind of as a little bit of a preview for that as well. Peterborough, actually 15th in the league. They'd actually had a pretty decent little run recently. But they lost 4-0 to, with 10 men to be fair. They lost 4-0 at Southampton, at home, against Southampton. Northampton. At home to Northampton, not away to Southampton. At home to Northampton, they lost 4-0. But otherwise been on a decent run. Only lost 2 of their last 10. 9 points clear of relegation, but 18 points off the playoffs. They're not going up, they're not going down. So really the cup final probably is their big one.
The holders.
The holders, yeah, obviously we went last year. They beat your beloved Chairboys in the final. Yeah. They conceded 7 goals in their last 2 games because they beat Crawley 4-3 last week as well. So they're to be got at, I think. I think attack might be the best form of defence.
Former Aston Villa promotion hero Jed Steer is their number 1 as well.
They've got some good players. Jed Steer in goal brings a lot of experience. Poku, the right winger. A lot's been said about him. Kwame Poku. I don't think he'll be there next season one way or another. I think they'll probably get some big offers coming for him, probably from Championship clubs. And then their number 10, Malik Mudaseli, is, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is their top scorer. He's definitely a threat and one to look out for. They'll probably match us up. It's like a 4-2-3-1. Obviously Darren Ferguson, in his 4th spell, genuinely his 4th spell as Peterborough manager, obviously the son of Alex Ferguson. So I think they'll be well up for it. I am more than confident we'll get the result on Tuesday, whether we play our strongest team or not, because I think they'll be all eyes on the final. That's their big game. Yeah. Nearly 50,000 Blues fans going down to Wembley on Sunday. I cannot wait. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
50,000, more than half. It's going to be like an invasion down there.
Yeah, the last I checked, Peterborough had sold just over 15,000, so it's going to be... I can't wait. We're all going down on a bus. It's going to be wicked. As I mentioned, Hansen's injured. Gardner Hickman's just coming back to training this week. I think the league game will definitely be too soon. I'm not sure about the cup game. Bielik seems to have picked up a knock as well. It'd be a shame if he's not able to be in the squad in some capacity. Obviously, he's the club captain. I know he's not played that much this season, but that would be nice. But yeah, I can't wait. Blues fans, safe journey and have a great trip. I hope, touch wood, it's going to be a great day and under the arch at Wembley. Another thing to mention as well, I think for these 2 games, Davis will move. I think he'll move Stansfield back out wide and May up front, which is what he did after half an hour yesterday. He subbed Willemsen off, who just doesn't look right at the minute. Had a great first half of the season, but since his injury and he's came back, he hasn't been the same player. I hope he can find it again, but I think at the minute, May's playing really well. I think that's what Chris Davis will do. But yeah, very exciting. Enjoy both games next week. Should be great.
We've got a double 3 games coming up probably before we record again.
Yeah.
2 of them against Paris Saint-Germain.
Yes.
The other one is against Southampton. I'm going down to the south coast, my old stomping ground, next Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Which is going to be really, really fun. But then PSG away first. Not going on a trip to Paris this time. Maybe should the stars align, we might be able to have a trip to Madrid afterwards. But we're going to need a lot of luck, I think. And we're going to have to play as good as we've ever played. PSG are on an amazing run at the moment. They are kind of beating teams for fun. I don't know how they did over the weekend. But
really, they battered Liverpool, really, in the quarters.
Yeah, they were brilliant at Anfield. Yeah. The way we will play them is completely different to how Liverpool will play them. For me, Liverpool played that tie completely wrong, but that's a discussion for another day, really, anyway. I think the away game in Paris is going to be extremely tough. Even if we lost 2-0, it's not the end. It wouldn't be the end of the world because we'd be more than capable at home. Bear in mind, at home in all competitions, we've only lost twice all season, and one of them was when we played a joke team in the League Cup, and the other one was Arsenal in the first home game of the season. We're on an amazing run at Villa Park. So should we have something to fight for in the second leg, we've got a really good chance of going through, but we cannot afford to go and get battered. Well, I don't think we will go and get battered at Paris, but anything can happen. I know how good we can play, and I also know how amazing they can play. It's mental that we're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. If this is going to be the last 2 weeks this season, we're in the Champions League, so be it. Just enjoy it. If all the Villa fans are going out to Paris, have a great time. Beware of the ultras, I suppose, because and if I hear that guy, the guy with the megaphone at Villa Park, I'm going to lose my mind because I'm in the North Stand, so I'll hear a lot of that guy. So hopefully we can shut them up.
Probably,
But to be honest, I don't really have a prediction. I'm just here to enjoy it.
Take it all.
Because my attitude this season has been, it's why we went to Bruges a couple of weeks ago, is I might never see us in the Champions League again. Some of these teams we played this year, Bayern, Juve, Celtic, now Paris Saint-Germain, I've never seen us play them before. I might never see us play them again. Soak it up, enjoy it, enjoy every minute, and
absolutely
enjoy the ride. And I can't wait.
I don't blame you. I hope you and Liam, I know I make Liam sorted you out with the ticket, thankfully, but I hope you have a great time, but I hope you get battered. Not literally, I just hope, very good. Very quickly, I appreciate this episode's been very long. Just a quick look at the other Midlands teams. Obviously, a bit of drama this weekend. West Brom, they lost 1-0 at home to Sunderland, sets them 3 points just outside of the playoffs now. Troy Hume scored a direct free kick. Joe Wildsmith in goal. Should have done a lot better. Big loss for them at home. I know Sunderland are a good team, but frustrating one for them at the Hawthorns. Better news for Wolves. They won 2-1 away at Ipswich.
Basically safe.
They're completely safe. 12 points clear of relegation with 7 games left. Unbeaten in 4. Pablo Sarabia and Strand Larsen with 2 late goals to turn it around because they were 1-0 down. Coventry went 1-0 up early on thanks to a Haji Wright goal. Bit controversial, but he got the goal. But lost 2-1 at home to Burnley.
Bad mistake for the second goal as well.
It was, yeah. Jaden Anthony with a double though. Frank Lampard was sent off after full time as well. No real loss in it. Shame in losing to Burnley though, I suppose.
Top of the league now.
Top of the league. Scott Parker, he is promotion
they've
specialist.
They've only lost 2 games all season.
I think they've only conceded 12 goals, haven't they? Yeah. Absolutely remarkable. But not such good news for Walsall. They were moved off the top of League Two for the first time in 4 months.
They are in real trouble all of a sudden.
They really are. They lost 3-2 at home to Port Vale, who've gone above them, as have Bradford, I think, who are now top. So they're only 3 points above Doncaster, 2 points clear of Doncaster, who are 4th. Obviously, the top 3 automatically go up. Doncaster have got a game in hand as well, though. Walsall are winless in 9. Really bad run that they're on. Sounded like a mad game, though. There was 3 goals in the first 11 minutes, and Walsall also had a goal ruled out after 12 seconds. It sounded a bit crazy.
And the fastest EFL goal for, I can't remember how many years, Bradford scored it after 11 seconds. So there was a goal of the weekend in League Two after 11 seconds and 12 seconds, but one of them was disallowed.
Gosh, blimey. But yeah, dangerous times for them. Not looking too good at the minute.
Yeah.
But I think that is this week.
That is this week. We will wrap it up there because this has been very, very long.
Yes, but it's been great.
But it's been great. It's been great to talk about our holiday, our trip to
Our
Milan.
trip,
And it's a huge week for both clubs, and we'll talk about it at some point over the next week or so.
Absolutely.
Great to be back here in the studio again.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be back probably in about a week. Hopefully Blues will be promoted and the cup final. We'll do reactions to all that stuff because they are such big games. Yeah. And obviously your big Champions League nights. We might even split it up a little bit just because the games are coming so thick and fast.
And they're such big games as well.
Exactly, just so we can give the games the time they deserve.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us today, for listening and watching. Enjoy the games if you're going to any of them. Travel safe to Wembley, travel safe to Paris, wherever you're going. Yeah. And in the meantime, keep right on and see you very soon.
We'll see you at some point next week, and up the Villa.